If we look at recent policy or popular constructions of the problem of food fraud, what it actually means or looks like, then often what we see is this preoccupation with trying to associate organised crime groups or criminal gangs with some kind of involvement in food fraud. But the data, the evidence don't indicate that. We see actually that it is legitimate occupational actors, legitimate businesses in the food supply chain or in the food system more widely that are actually at the centre of many of these cases that come to our attention. One of the reasons why we actually got involved in researching food fraud in the first place was the horse meat scandal. We saw legitimate businesses at the centre of the scandal. These businesses were then mixing the beef with the horse meat but labelling them as pure beef products and then selling them on to other retailers or other businesses within the market and consumers. Olive oil is another good example of that, and one that we analysed in the Spanish market specifically, but that of course has implications for what we import in the UK. If we try and understand, say, where olive oil fraud might occur, in other words adulteration, substituting a cheaper oil with a more expensive oil and therefore making some kind of financial gain out of that. If we think in terms of the fraud itself and the kind of resources, equipment, access that you would require to mix or blend certain oils, then that occurs within these central businesses within the supply chain that are often legitimate blenders or refiners, but who have all the available equipment to be able to mix these oils together. Is therefore very well hidden behind otherwise normal daily routine business practice. In the short term, I think it's really important that we try to understand the fraud commission process. In other words, think in terms of how do you actually carry out a fraud? What kind of resources, equipment, skills do you require to be able to do that? In the longer term, I think there are some serious questions that we need to ask about how we can actually reorganise the food system itself. Corporatisation of production, of distribution is very prominent now in the food system. That in itself is not an issue, but it creates dysfunctionality across the system more broadly. So those smaller and medium-sized enterprises or businesses face real pressures to meet contractual arrangements or to simply make ends meet on a quarterly basis. It's very important for the National Food Crime Unit in the Food Standards Agency to be able to cooperate and collaborate with its enforcement partners across Europe. So we have to question, to what extent will those enforcement relationships break down or prosper in a post-Brexit UK? If there is uncertainty in the market, prices are going up and down for whatever reason on the back of Brexit, then that creates uncertainty for the businesses themselves, and they have to identify a viable response to be able to continue to run or maintain their business enterprise.